Welcome to Alien Whispers. If you enjoy the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Now, let's dive into the story. A brilliant flash of light erupted in the middle of the conference room aboard the Odyssey, silencing the hum of discussion and leaving everyone stunned. In its place stood a woman, completely naked, her skin a soft, glowing blue, and her silver hair cascading down her back like liquid moonlight. She stood confidently on the polished surface of the table, as if she belonged there. Captain Soren Voss, mid-sentence in a critical briefing about trade negotiations with the Zephyr delegation, froze. His eyes widened, but he quickly masked his shock with a practiced calm. "Ambassador Astra, I presume," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around him. The woman turned to him, her violet eyes sparkling with a mix of amusement and curiosity. "Captain Voss, yes. My apologies for the unconventional arrival. My teleportation device seems to have misfired." The room erupted in a chorus of gasps and murmurs. Ensign Marco, his face flushing a deep red, scrambled to grab a spare uniform jacket from a nearby chair and held it out to her. "Here, you might want this." Astra accepted it with a graceful nod, but didn't immediately put it on. "Thank you, but in my culture, nudity is not something to be ashamed of. It's a natural state, celebrated, even." Soren cleared his throat, trying to ignore the way his pulse quickened. "While we respect your cultural norms, Ambassador, on the Odyssey, we adhere to certain standards of dress, particularly in formal settings like this." Astra finally slipped into the jacket, her movements unhurried and elegant. "Of course, Captain. I didn't mean to cause any discomfort. I was simply trying to join the meeting promptly, but it seems my coordinates were off." Commander Lyra, seated to Soren's left, leaned forward, her initial shock giving way to curiosity. "How exactly did you end up here?" "I thought the Zephyr delegation was arriving by shuttle." Astra smiled, her expression warm yet slightly mischievous. "Zephyr technology allows for instantaneous travel through space. However, calibrating the teleportation device can be challenging in environments with high electromagnetic interference, like this ship." Soren raised an eyebrow. "So, you intended to teleport directly into the meeting room?" "Yes," Astra replied without hesitation. "I thought it would be more efficient than navigating through the corridors. Clearly, I need to refine my settings." Lieutenant Shun, who had been quietly observing from across the table, spoke up. "Is there a risk of this happening again? We can't have people materializing in the middle of important discussions." Astra shook her head reassuringly. "Once I adjust the parameters, it should not be an issue. This was an isolated incident." Soren nodded, though he wasn't entirely convinced. "Very well. Since you're here now, perhaps you can contribute to our discussion. We were just reviewing the trade agreements with your people." Astra's face lit up with genuine enthusiasm. "I'd be delighted to assist. After all, fostering mutual understanding and cooperation is why I'm here." As the meeting resumed, Soren found it difficult to focus entirely on the trade details. His mind kept drifting back to Astra's startling arrival, her confidence, her otherworldly beauty, and the way she seemed utterly unfazed by the situation. He had a feeling that working with the Zephyr delegation, and particularly with Ambassador Astra, was going to be unlike anything he had ever experienced. Later, after the meeting adjourned and the officers filed out of the room, Commander Lyra lingered behind. She crossed her arms and gave Soren a knowing look. "Well, that was something else." Soren sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Yes, it was. I'm not sure what to make of it." Lyra smirked. "Oh, come on, Soren. She's stunning, and she clearly made an impression on you." Soren frowned. "This is about diplomacy, Lyra, not personal feelings." Lyra laughed softly. "Sure, keep telling yourself that. I saw the way you looked at her. There's something there, whether you admit it or not." Soren shook his head. "We have a job to do. I can't let distractions get in the way." Lyra patted him on the shoulder as she turned to leave. "Just don't let it slip away either. Sometimes the best things come unexpectedly." With that, she left the room, leaving Soren alone with his thoughts. He glanced back at the table where Astra had appeared, still feeling the echo of her presence. Perhaps Lyra was right. Maybe this unexpected turn of events was the start of something extraordinary. Soren paced his quarters, the image of Astra on the conference table stuck in his head. He needed answers. A chime sounded. "Enter," he called. Astra stepped in, her zephyr robe shimmering. "Captain Voss," she said, her voice smooth. "You wanted to see me?" "Yeah," Soren said, facing her. "We need to talk about what happened in the meeting." Astra smiled, tilting her head. "The teleportation mishap? I said I was sorry. Total accident." "Really?" Soren raised an eyebrow. "You blamed electromagnetic interference, but I'm not buying it." Her smile grew, and she stepped closer. "Sharp, aren't you?" "Okay, there's more to it." Soren's pulse quickened. "Spill it." "I was thinking about you," Astra said, her violet eyes locked on his. "My teleportation tech syncs with my thoughts. Guess I was too focused on you." Soren blinked. "Me? What?" "You're fascinating," she said softly. "Your discipline, your leadership, it's compelling." Zephyr admired that. His neck warmed. "That's flattering, but popping in like that? Not exactly standard protocol." Astra laughed, a sound like chimes. "Maybe not for humans. For us, teleporting's like breathing. When we're drawn to someone, we just go." Soren cleared his throat. "Still, we can't have you appearing in meetings like that again." "Fair enough," she said, nodding. "I'll tweak the settings. No more surprises." "Good," Soren said, relieved. "Now, about the trade talks." "Wait," Astra cut in, raising a hand. "You need to understand us, Zephyr. We're open, emotions, bodies, everything. What you call bold, we call honest." Soren swallowed, her earlier image flashing back. "I noticed." She stepped closer, her voice a whisper. "And I think you didn't mind." His breath hitched, her gaze pulling him in. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to," she said, smirking. "I'm here to work with you. And maybe more." She turned to leave, glancing back. "See you soon, Captain." The door closed, leaving Soren stunned, his mind racing with possibilities. Soren was sipping coffee in the mess hall when a flash of light hit. Astra appeared, in a tight Zephyr uniform, sliding into the seat across from him. "Morning, Captain," she said, grinning. "Can I join you?" Soren choked on his coffee. "Astra, what the hell? You said you fixed the teleportation thing." "I tried," she said, pouting. "Still working on it. Plus, I was starving, and this place is great food." Soren pinched his nose. "Fine, eat. Just don't make a scene." She snatched a fruit from his tray. "Thanks. So, what's fun around here?" "Fun." Soren frowned. "Gym, rec deck, holodeck stuff." "Gym, huh?" Astra's eyes sparkled. "You work out a lot?" "Most days," he said. "Mind if I tag along sometime?" she asked, her tone teasing. Soren's stomach flipped. "Sure, if you want." "Tomorrow, then," she said, popping the fruit in her mouth. She vanished in a flash. Next day, Soren found her in the gym, her workout gear hugging every curve. He tried not to stare as she stretched. "Ready, Captain?" she asked, playful. "Let's do this," he said, grabbing a towel. They worked out for an hour, her moves fluid and strong. Soren couldn't help but admire her. After, she wiped sweat from her brow. "You're in killer shape, Captain." His cheeks burned. "You're not bad either." She stepped closer, smiling. "We should do this more often." "Maybe," he said, heart racing. That night, Soren was reading reports in his quarters when another flash hit. Astra appeared on his couch, in a tunic that barely covered her thighs. "Astra," he yelped, jumping up. "What now?" "Oops," she said, looking around. "Meant to hit my room. Guess I messed up again." Soren crossed his arms. "This has to stop. You can't keep popping into my space." "I'm trying, Soren," she said, standing. "This ship's messing with my tech." "Try harder," he said. "And maybe we're something less revealing." She glanced at her tunic, smirking. "This? It's comfy." He shook his head, fighting a grin. "Just go before someone sees you." She saluted. I Captain." With a flash, she was gone, leaving Soren's heart pounding and his mind a mess. Soren sat on his couch, staring at the ceiling of his quarters. A soft chime sounded, and Astra appeared in a flash, her zephyr robe barely covering her thighs. "Can't sleep, Captain?" she asked, her voice teasing. Soren sat up, heart skipping. "Astra, you've got to stop doing that." She grinned, sitting beside him. Saw the... I sensed you were restless. Want to talk? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. It's just being captain. Everyone looks to me, but sometimes I feel like I'm on my own. Astra's eyes softened. That sounds heavy. It is, he said. I make decisions that affect the whole crew, but there's no one to share the weight with. She leaned closer, her shoulder brushing his. I get it. As an ambassador, I'm always representing my people. I have to be perfect, fit into your world. It's lonely. Soren looked at her, surprised. You feel lonely too? All the time, she said quietly. I'm here, but I'm not really part of it. Not yet. They sat in silence, the hum of the ship around them. Soren felt a pull toward her, her honesty cutting through his walls. How do you deal with it? Astra's gaze drifted to the viewport. I look at the stars. They make me feel connected, like I belong somewhere. Soren smiled faintly. I do that too. There's an observation deck with a great view. Helps me clear my head. Her face lit up. Can we go there? It's a bit of a walk, he said. She stood, grabbing his hand. Or we could teleport. I'll be careful, promise. Soren chuckled, standing. All right, let's try it. She squeezed his hand. Hold on tight. A flash enveloped them, and they appeared on the observation deck, stars glittering through the massive viewport. Astra gasped. It's gorgeous. Soren stood close, their hands still linked. Yeah, it is. She pointed at a bright cluster. That's the Orion Nebula. Zephyr kids learn to navigate by it. Impressive, Soren said. I used to study star charts as a kid. Wanted to explore every corner of the galaxy. Astra turned to him, her voice soft. Maybe we can explore it together. He met her gaze, his chest tightening. I'd like that. She stepped closer, her breath warm against his cheek. Good. They sat on a bench, shoulders touching, watching the stars in silence. Soren felt her warmth, her presence grounding him in a way he hadn't expected. Back in Soren's quarters, the air felt different, charged. They sat on his bed, closer than before, the starlight still lingering in their minds. You're quiet, Astra said, her voice low. What's up? Soren looked at her, his pulse racing. Just thinking about tonight. The stars it felt right. She smiled, sliding closer until their thighs pressed together. It did, didn't it? He swallowed, her closeness making his head spin. Yeah, I haven't felt like this in a long time. Astra's skin began to glow faintly, a soft blue light pulsing gently. Soren's eyes widened. Your skin's doing that thing again. She laughed softly. It happens when I'm with someone I care about. It's our way of showing connection. He reached out, his fingers brushing her arm, the glow warm under his touch. It's amazing. Her voice dropped, husky. It's more than that. It's how we bond. We call it merging energies. It's like sharing your soul with someone. Soren's breath hitched. Sounds intense. It is, she said, her eyes locked on his. But it's beautiful. You share everything, thoughts, feelings, everything that makes you you. Have you ever done it? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. A few times, she said, but never with a human. I want to try with you. His heart pounded. What do I do? She leaned in, her lips brushing his ear. Just let go. Feel me. Soren pulled her closer, his hands settling on her waist. Their lips met, slow at first, then deeper, a spark igniting between them. Her glow intensified, wrapping them in a cocoon of light. He felt her emotions, her warmth, her desire, mixing with his own, like they were becoming one. Soren, she whispered, her voice trembling. This is it. This is merging. He kissed her again, lost in the sensation. Don't stop. They moved together, their bodies finding a rhythm, her glow pulsing brighter with every touch. It wasn't just physical. It was like their minds were entwined, sharing every thought, every heartbeat. When they finally stilled, breathless, Astra rested her head on his chest. That was more than I expected. Soren stroked her hair, the glow fading, but the warmth remaining. Yeah, I've never felt anything like that. She looked up, smiling. That's what merging energies does. It binds us heart and soul. He pulled her closer. I'm glad it was with you. They lay there, tangled together, the quiet of the ship wrapping around them like a blanket. Soren stepped into the mess hall, and the chatter dropped to whispers. He grabbed a tray and joined Commander Lyra and Lieutenant Shun at their table. "So, Captain," Lyra said, smirking, "how's Ambassador Astra treating you?" Soren's fork froze midair. "She's fine." "What?" Shun chuckled. "Whole ship's buzzing. You two are practically glued together." Ensign Marco slid in beside them. "Heard she teleported into your quarters last night." "That true?" "None of your business, Ensign," Soren snapped. "Marco Grinth. Just saying, that's cool tech. And she's gorgeous." Lieutenant Davis, at a nearby table, frowned. "Captain, is it smart to get involved with an alien ambassador? Could complicate things." Soren's jaw tightened. "That's my call, Lieutenant." Before anyone could push further, alarms blared. "All hands to stations. Engine room breach." Soren bolted up. "Moo!" In the engine room, smoke poured from a ruptured conduit. Crew members scrambled to contain it. "Evacuate, non essentials." Soren shouted. "Engineering, isolate the breach." A flash of light, and Astra appeared. "What's wrong?" "Breach," Soren said, coughing. "We need to seal it fast." Astra pulled a device from her belt. "I've got this." She aimed it at the breach, and a beam of light knitted the metal shut in minutes. The alarm stopped. Chief Engineer Harris stared, awestruck. "How'd you do that?" "Zephyr Tech," Astra said, smiling. "Built for quick fixes." Harris clapped her shoulder. "You saved our asses." "Thanks." As they left, Davis approached Soren. "Captain, I was wrong about her. She's one of us now." Soren nodded. "She's more than her tech. She's family." Later, in his quarters, Astra was waiting on his couch. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," Soren replied, sitting close, their knees brushing. "You were amazing today." She shrugged. "Just doing my part." He took her hand, his thumb grazing her skin. "Crew's coming around. They see you for you now." Astra leaned in, her breath warm on his cheek. "And you? What do you see?" Soren's pulse quickened. "Someone I can't imagine being without." She smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "Good, 'cause I'm sticking around." Soren was reviewing reports in his quarters when Astra materialized, holding a small box. "Got something for you," she said, handing it over. He opened it, revealing an intricate device. "What's this?" "Zephyr Locator," she said, sitting beside him, her thigh pressing against his. "Finds you anywhere in the galaxy. In our culture, it's a promise. Our hearts stay linked." Soren's chest tightened. "Astra, that's incredible." She tilted her head, eyes teasing. "Means you're stuck with me." He reached under his desk, pulling out a box of his own. "Then I've got something for you, too." He opened it, showing a ring of shimmering rare metal. In human tradition, this is an engagement ring, a promise to marry. Astra's breath caught. "Soren, you're asking me to marry you?" "Yeah," he said, voice low. "Will you?" She threw her arms around him, lips brushing his ear. "Yes. Hell yes." They pulled back, grinning. Soren took her hand. "We should do a ceremony that mixes our cultures." Astra nodded, her fingers tracing his. "Zephyr exchange energy signatures, like sharing our souls." "You wear a ring too." "Definitely," Soren said. "And we'll hold it on the observation deck under the stars." "Perfect," she said, leaning closer. "Crew's invited, right?" "They're family." "Absolutely," Soren agreed, his hand sliding to her waist. "Lyra can officiate." Astra laughed, her voice husky. "She'll love that. What's the energy signature thing like for you?" "It's just our locators," she said, her lips inches from his. "We activate them together, feel each other's essence. It's warm, intimate." Soren's pulse raced. "Sounds like something I'd want with you." She kissed him softly. "You'll feel me always." They sat, planning their future, hands entwined, the promise of their love binding them across stars.